Is everybody ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Call to order. Let's see. Do I have a motion on the minutes
Make-
from January 5th?
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay, input of focus groups. It's Patty, I think, I assume.
Well,
I'll
Tom
go
and
first,
Maura were
actually.
at the focus group. Actually, so was Heather. So
Yeah, Heather went to one, Maura went to the other, so I think, why don't you guys kind of share what you heard?
I heard very positive feedback. I think a lot of people liked how it was spelled out, how it was organized, thought it was very well thought through.
How many people were at your focus group?
Maybe 10.
Were you at the afternoon one? or
I
the
was at
evening
the first one, yeah, the 4 to 5 one, I think it was, or 3
Three
to
to
4.
four.
3 to 4.
The element, it had,
one? 10 people approximately? Did you guys keep count? How many people attended?
I think that Brian or whoever facilitated would know from their Zoom.
Yeah,
link.
Matt ran
I
that
didn't-
one.
I didn't
We had
like-
about 8 at ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wondered how many parents were actually would be on it. I was kind of nervous that there wouldn't be many. There
I
were
can find
more
out.
than I
I'll
thought.
email the principals. and
There were
find out.
more than I expected, but the parents that were on there, I thought they were very informative, like I think that they gave really good input. So I thought it was all positive.
Yeah, so we had 4 or 5 parents, and then we had and 2 former parents. So like their kids are now older, but they had gone through Sanborn and then some other, then I think 1 or 2 other community members. And again, they had a lot of good feedback. You know, our group had a lot more discussion around timelines and I noticed the timelines had been up, like what were the end dates and that sort of thing, and what were some of the metrics. So that was a lot of the conversation that some of our focus group, but everything was really positive.
Mhm.
I wish more people had come.
Hmm,
At least the people in my group were very familiar faces. Those are people that are usually very involved already.
Mhm.
But there was one new mom that I think that joined that you were gonna have a
I
conversation
am, I'm
with.
talking to her Monday, yeah. She's a teacher.
And I actually saw some unfamiliar faces. I think so. For me, that was now maybe it's because I don't know a lot of people at Biggie at this point. But there were actually some people on there who I didn't know. So I actually, and I guess based on what I was seeing online, I really didn't think that there were going to be a lot of people. And not that there was a huge amount, but I was really happy to see that there were some people, not the regular people that I would typically see. I was happy to see if there were.
Yeah, there were a
more
few
people.
new faces to me,
Yeah.
that the folks that I had never met before.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
So it was good.
I asked they had note takers, so one administrator facilitated, the other one took notes. So I asked them to send me the list of the attendees. We'll get that to
which
you.
one? Did you attend both sessions?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I attended everything.
Were there any suggestions for things people wanted to see that weren't in there? What?
I think the timelines and the metrics, I think some clarity on that. And then I had brought up that one of the goals is the emotional growth, but I still haven't seen any social emotional growth, and I still haven't seen any target areas around that. So I think that was my feedback, because as we know, if kids have regulation issues, their frontal cortex is not engaged and they're working from their reptilian brain, and they're not going to get able to access the literacy and the math skills, because that's the part of the brain that's like working. So how to make sure that we can help kids stay regulated and focused throughout the school day, I think is really important.
I agree. So I'll go now. I just wanted to give you guys a chance first, because you were the board members that attended the 2 sessions. Jamie was at the one that Maura attended, right?
Yep.
And the second one, I think we only had one board member, right? Which is fine, but it really, I was really surprised at the level of positivity about the formatting, the layout. To echo Maura's, that was true in both groups. They felt like a lot of really hard work had gone into this. And they liked the way that it was laid out, that you had an overview in the first part of the document, and then the links to get to the deeper part of the document, and the forms where the steps would be tracked are editable so that people can see later who's doing what when at any time.
Yeah.
Right? Which is, I think, is awesome. So that's great. And I think that everyone kind of understood that you know, a plan is a roadmap, and that it needs to be discussed and monitored. Right? I mean, we all feel like it needs to be discussed and monitored, and they were very good about that. Like they really didn't offer, in my head, any. I mean, there are obviously things like Annie brought up something great, which is the next step, which is, what are we going to do with the social studies curriculum? Well, that's part of the plan, is to review the social studies curriculum and come up with the standards and the benchmarks, and that she wanted to see that now. You can't, that's not a strategic plan, that's a curriculum plan, which I agree with Annie that needs to be done. That's what we're planning to do. And the strategic plan says when you're going to do that. So you put your curriculum on a review process and an adoption process that holds the district accountable to reviewing and processing the curriculum. Because you can't do every level of curriculum every year. I mean, that's impossible. It's too much. So we certainly, and there were questions about things like how or when will we share with the community how we're doing with it? How do we track it? How do we move forward through it? So I really, honestly, that at this point, everyone who's wanted to have a voice has had such a high level of voice in this, that they just liked that it was much, much better than the first version. That was the gist of both calls. It was way, way better.
Yeah.
The social and emotional piece came up. I think Heather's right. I would agree with that figuring out how to talk about, it's one thing to talk about that kids need to understand how to manage their emotions and work well with others, but a plan for doing it is, again, that next step, right? That we need to address. So it's good. I mean, I think I'm really happy about this. I'm really excited.
Yeah,
So
I agree. And I got the same feedback, even from people that didn't go to the focus group. They could tell the amount of work that Dr. Haynes and her committee did on putting it together. I mean, like, it was very well organized, very well written. It's, probably one of the better strategic plans that I have seen.
yeah, I agree. And the what I love, and this is just me now, I love that we got clear, unsolicited feedback that we created something, we shared it with people, and we said to them, what do you think? And then we changed it a lot. So that really is important for people to see even if you didn't get every little piece that you wanted in there, we did really try to capture all the feedback, and the administrators worked really hard on this. It's not, Patty's leading it and she's writing with Christine, but the administrators processed a lot of the survey feedback and the data. And then the second survey has been clearer, saying, yeah, this is like closer to where we wanted to get to. And you can talk about that if you want to.
Yeah, the second survey closed on Monday, and there was a lot less feedback in the open boxes. So if folks wanted to respond about, what's missing, the open sort of responses instead of yes or no kind of, there was a lot less. Did we miss anything? It was a lot of no. It was just very short, sweet, to the point. So I think people recognize that it's been not just a revision, it's an entire overhaul that was done and brought up to date and everything. So
I like that it's an organic living document.
yes.
That it's
Yeah.
not like a lot of strategic plans, they're just they're completed, they're check box, they're put on the shelf and they're moved. Whereas this has, where you have to keep inputting it. Like we've met this goal, we've met this objective, we've met this timeline. And so you can see the progress that you've made in real time.
Or not, and do something about it, right? Like what I don't want is to get to the end of X period of time and there isn't a social studies curriculum.
But it'll be
that we need to know, like, hey, in December, we were supposed to have this part done and it's not done yet. So we got to hustle, or we need to adjust but we need to do something because it's not happening when it's supposed to. I don't want anything that like the idea of doing 5 years to me is kind of, well, it's weird because it's so far, but it's good in a way because you're trying to like give yourself a rotation.
Mhm.
But 2 or 3 years, I like to look at things in 2 or 3 years,
The
chunks.
standard is 3 to 5.
Yeah, 3 to 5 is the standard. You're right. So it's fine with me that it's 5, but I love, Heather, that we can say, next December, okay, well, we had this goal by the end of this year of having a new, having aligned and reviewed the social studies curriculum, but we actually hustled over the summer and we got a bunch of teachers in and we already got some of this done. It's not like the completion date doesn't mean that that's when you're doing the work. That's when it's done by. Like this strategic plan is supposed to be completed by the end of this year. This is kind of like the first checkpoint, right, in the process. So we had hoped to have it done for adoption by the end of February. That may not happen, right? But there's a point where for Patty, process wise, where she has to wrap this stuff up and start working on choosing the math curriculum. So we're thinking no later than the first meeting in April if we need to delay a little bit, right? And that's fine because we built it for mid-February to have elasticity, right? Because we knew that this is important work that needs to be taken in steps, and there are going to be important discussions to have, and we need to have it go slow enough so that it feels good, but not so slow that it doesn't have an end point.
Right.
And that's the same thing with the parts of the plan that have deadlines. The end of the plan, the end of that deadline for that item, a committee will develop a backward plan for the end of that deadline and do the work. So like for the social studies curriculum, I'm using this because I don't know, Annie, if you're watching this, you brought it up, but I'm just using Annie's example of we have to have a number of teachers meet incrementally over the period of a year to do very specific tasks. What are we going to teach for social studies in first grade? Then what are the units going to be and what are the targets of the units? And then what are the assessments for those targets? When that's done, it gets put into a very neat and easy to read Word document similar to what the strategic plan is, and it gets loaded to the web so every parent can see what social studies is with the click of a button at grade 1. Then you do it for grade 2, or you have grade 2 working, they can all be working at the same time, but they'll do it over a period of time. And my hope would be that the sequence would lead us, the goal is to get to the point where we're reviewing the curriculum, not creating it. The math curriculum is going to be done. Patty has done that work, the program. There's still going to be units to talk about and tweaking, right, and things to do, but the programs will be picked. I really think that science and social studies are our next 2 areas to really focus on because we really haven't, they get neglected naturally. Reading and math always take the front line. And we have units for writing. So I think from a PR perspective, the next step for this committee is to talk about, how do we engage the parents in the community in owning a part of this plan. So here's the thing. We all recognize that having scores on our SATs of 30 in math and 40 something in reading, that is unacceptable. I'm saying it. Patty agrees. We all agree with that. The problem that schools are facing right now is that, well, number one, I don't even know if the SAT, Maine just dropped the SAT completely. You don't have to take it. It's optional. I just found that out.
The
It's not-
university system in Maine, is that what you're
No, the schools, they're not using it as a
Oh.
measure for
saying?
schools
Okay. Were they
anymore.
in Maine?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
for years. They are developing like an SAS for Maine schools for high school, which is way better because it's aligned to the curriculum. The problem with the SAT is it isn't necessarily aligned to the curriculum. It's aligned to putting you in a bucket. Are you going to go to the world of work? Are you going to go to the world of management? Are you going to go to a skilled trade? That's the goal of the SAT. It is not it has never been designed to assess school effectiveness. I've resented that since it came out 17 years ago. It was a mistake. Having said that, that doesn't mean that it's okay that 30% of our kids are proficient on the SAT. The school needs to align its curriculum. We need to support teachers with providing instruction and intervention for kids who are struggling. But there's a missing link here. And this is our job as this committee for the next year. Parents have to come to the well. You can't it's not just a teacher's fault if a kid isn't doing well at school. It is not. That's only one piece of the pie. It's 1/3. The parents are a third and the kid is a third. If the curriculum's bad and it's not aligned, then when kids try, they can't get results. That's a problem. And we have some of that going on, for sure. I'm not denying that. What I'm concerned about is the apathy in this community. I am. I'm really concerned. I was told that when I was hired, and now I've seen it. And we talked about it. Getting people to show up is really, really hard. And parents we need to engage. How do we engage parents in getting them to impress to their kids that school is important?
So that was one feedback that did come up,
It
was
did.
like the conferences, that they're not equipped for parents. Like a lot of parents don't bother with the conferences because 5 minutes is just not enough time to
Yep.
really.
Thank you for reminding me of that.
That's a good point.
That's a contract issue, and we need to work on that in the next negotiation.
Yeah, 5 minutes is just like 5 minutes for 5 teachers or even
Mhm.
2 teachers is just, it's hard. You don't
Mhm.
get, the teacher does a really good job of giving you information and they're doing the best that they can, but you can't really sometimes get down to what
Yeah.
the problem is.
And again, it's a combination thing. This isn't an or. It's so-and-so's fault, or it's and.
Oh, yeah, there's multiple factors, and I think, the world has changed. Most parents have 2 working households.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's a lot of parents that have to work to pay their bills. So going to a meeting, sometimes it's either go to the meeting or, not get paid. Like there's a lot of that involved with it as well.
Well, there's a lot of, how do I handle my kids' homework when I can barely handle getting home and getting dinner because I'm exhausted if
But
I'm
we
even
don't
there at all.
understand the homework.
Right, and that's the part that we have to fix, right? We have to make sure you understand the homework. And we have to fix the grading so that parents understand what the problem is. We have to fix the curriculum. Trust me, I'm just trying to bring to light that it's an and situation.
Mhm.
This has to get better, and we have to do it together. And we don't talk enough about the parent problem, or not even the parent problem, the parent issues that they face and need support with.
But
I want to be really careful about this because a lot of parents are doing the best they can.
But I
Mhm.
think that goes back to the strategic goal about in community engagement of like the YouTube videos, the Alma video, like giving the parents the tools so they can help their kids.
Yep. I think you're right, Heather. And I do think, I'll say this outright, it came up, the grading system, it really turns parents off and makes it hard for them to come and understand what they need to do to help their kid.
Yeah. No, I
And we
agree
need to
with that.
fix that immediately. And we are fixing that. We're having a huge meeting in a week, 2 weeks
Mhm.
to talk about it.
So like I remember when my son was in kindergarten, in like lower grades, we used to get like a packet home, like at the beginning of a unit. I don't know, Tammy, they did this when your kids were little, but like I would get like a packet, like the parent packet.
Mhm.
This is what we're working on. And I would like be able to I would be able to not teach myself, but at least know
What's going on?
what's going on. And I don't know if that still happens.
Yeah, I don't either. I'd have to find out. Patty, do you have any thoughts on this?
I was thinking they were doing it, but now I'm wondering if it's up in Seesaw, because some of the stuff
Yeah.
has moved to the digital world.
Yeah, I'll say this. The last 3 weeks are the first time in almost 2 years that I've felt good about being able to do work to help kids.
Mhm.
It's really, the difference in the quarantining has made a huge difference.
Mhm.
I don't get up every day wondering if school's going to be open. Right?
That's
I mean,
crazy.
that's my day started out every day for the last 2 years, checking in with the principals. Do you have enough staff to even be open
Mhm.
today? And the last 3 weeks, it's been like, oh my goodness, we're talking about teaching and learning.
Mhm.
And so
That's amazing.
oh my goodness, it feels so good, right, to talk about that.
Mhm.
So I think that we have a lot to do. We had a lot to do prior to the pandemic. We're going to have a lot more to do because the pandemic's effect on the teachers, the kids, and the parents is not even close to being processed yet.
Hmm.
It is not. The mental health issues, what we're seeing, when I met with the principals and I said, what do you need right now? The first thing they said is more guidance.
Guidance counselors.
Kids are coming. Yes, thank you. More guidance counselors. Kids are not more school counselors. Kids aren't coming to school ready to do school. And it's not just the littles. The high school kids are really struggling with it.
Mhm.
And it has gotten a little bit better, but better is relative. It's not even close to where it was prior to the pandemic, but it's better than what it was in September. Right? I mean, I live with two teenage kids and I've seen it. Like my two boys, they struggled this fall going back to school, like with the routines. They hate masking. They're just frustrated.
I
and
got my
angry.
4th referral for a family where the kid hasn't been in school in like 6 months.
Yeah.
Just not going to school.
Just, I'm done.
Mhm.
So I guess my question is, as a public relations group, I think that we should, I mean, we're kind of talking about goals. It's okay. But our goal has got to be to figure out how to reach out and really connect with parents. And I love some of your ideas about the barriers, about that it's not just like, hey, coffee with the principal, like that's not really effective for getting to the heart of this. What Jim Baker has said a couple of really great things to me this last few weeks. He said, it just feels like we need to figure out how to cultivate a culture of excellence. And my response was, I agree, but it's not just in the schools.
Oh, absolutely.
It's everybody. Because I can't do this alone. We can't do it even like alone as teachers. We need parents to be a part of our family, to do this with us. And I don't know how to get them to do that.
I could just, one thing I can say from, I know life doesn't revolve around sports, but I do feel like sports are a level of which people can come together in a community. And I feel like my son had his coach suggested that they go to a middle school game and a high school game, and the connection that he now has with these other, not that he knows these kids by name or anything, but there is a connection that he now has with these other things. And that's in particular what we lack with COVID, and also with the theater, when we put on these plays and
Band concerts, music.
band concerts, and I look around the room and I'm just like, my parents have been asking about, they want to go to the plays in town. They don't really know about it. And that's not really necessarily parental engagement, but talking about
family engagement, yeah.
community engagement of, but I didn't really even see that pre-COVID. I would come with my parents and I didn't really see what I'm going to say, members outside the community or outside of the parents, outside of the students. I kind of think it's like an icebreaker for, because we've all got all these politics involved and everything. And I feel like that's a good icebreaker. Let's together cheer on Sanborn. You might be on this side of the aisle and I'm on this side, but together we're gonna cheer on Sanborn, and we have something that we can together get behind, or going and seeing a play or a band concert or something like that. I really feel like that's something very important to try to bring this community back together.
I agree. And you know what? I would even change my previous statement to say, I don't think it's a level of apathy. I think it's a level of overwhelm. Families are overwhelmed. They care. Apathy would mean that you don't care. I think what it means is that they don't, some of it's frustration because they don't understand the grading or the communication or whatever. But don't you think another part of it is that they're just trying to survive?
It's overwhelming. And I think too, as we talk about parents, we talk about Alma, and I have to wonder too, like how many you've talked before about like some parents, they like to get their text messages. They don't check emails anymore. You're dealing with people that come from different, like you got parents who are millennials or Gen Xers or
whatever we are.
Right. I'm in a micro generation. So something that, so I see us going this way, of technology. I'm like, oh, as a parent, that's not, I don't like that. I don't like going on Elma and just call me up and tell me my kid didn't turn in an assignment or something. But I
Mhm.
understand for the other generation, the younger parents, that's how they like to do things. So when you talk about being overwhelmed, like, yeah, it's overwhelming for myself because things are coming in forms that I don't really understand, or they're
Yep.
just not second nature to me. So
But
I
what
think
that tells
that's
us is
something-
multimodality is important. Doing things in a variety, like if you notice, I'll
Yeah.
email it and then I put
Right.
it on Facebook and then I make a little video. I mean, we're trying to multimodality it to
And
death almost.
Right, I know, but like,
It's-
okay, go see your kids' grades on Alma and see if they passed in their assignment. Oh, why didn't you turn that assignment? Oh, because we did it in paper in class and we turned it in class. Oh, okay, well, it doesn't show that, like, it just, so you start to go, well, when do I question and when do I not
Mhm.
question? I don't know, so anyways, my point on that is, yes, I see that it's overwhelming as a parent right now because and everyone could be dealing with it in a different way.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we can talk about this more at the next meeting, right? Like we need public relations almost more now than we ever have to move forward to the next phase, right? Because we're going to start getting real with this. Like the pandemic is coming to an endemic phase unless there's some kind of bizarre uptick. Well, no, I know, but I'm not, heck, after all this, I'm afraid of very little. I can tell you things that used to be a huge deal now are like, but I think that where no matter what, we're going to align the curriculum. We're going to identify learning targets. We're going to start holding kids to a higher standard, and that's going to create some tension naturally. Because when you find out that your child isn't doing well in X, Y, and Z, you're going to be asking questions about what to do about it, right? And we know that's coming. So being clear with people about that, okay, we're coming out of this and we're going to, it's hard because our data is a train wreck, right? The data for everything is a mess right now. It's just unbelievable, right? So like what I've told people to focus on is locally collected, clearly defined data. So like, for example, I met with the 4th grade teachers at Memorial and we looked at their Fontes and Pinnell data. That's done in-house by teachers reading with kids. They know what they should be at for a level for 4th grade in reading, right? They know because we have a chart that's created by Fontes and Pinnell, and you compare that to the chart. The scores were low.
Yeah.
Very, very low. So we are going to see a very intense period for the next few years of trying to figure out what the new norm is for the groups. Because what used to be a norm for these groups is now completely different and we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, don't worry about that. Focus on what you know. Focus on the kid in front of you, focus on what they know and are able to do, and then try to move them on a continuum from where they are. You're not going to, quote, catch them up. The whole generation is in a different location. It's going to be really interesting to see what it does to the Northwest Educational Assessment, the NWEA, because that's going to take 2 or 3 years of data to really show a change in the norms. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so that was all I had.
Oh, that was all.
Yeah, well, that was just the beginning.
Okay. Okay, well, it will be time to start formulating goals for the committee after next month.
Yeah.
After March, traditionally, the committees are populated.
Are you guys, I assume that Dawn will have you ask if you'd like to continue to be, what committees you'd like to be on, but can I just say that I've enjoyed having this year, and having the 3 of you again would be nice for the continuity, just a thought. Right, because this has been, we're going to really dig into this next year, and I really have enjoyed having the conversations in this group. It's been really helpful. It helped us with this focus group. That made a big difference.
Okay.
So thanks for asking for that.
Okay.
Right, well, we have warrant articles on the agenda. I just wanted to see if there's anything we needed.
Oh, thanks.
Recommendations we needed on those. Or
No, we have a
what's
plan for
happening
tonight. I can update that. We're going to, Matt we took the warrant articles and Matt drew up a little statement about each one for the deliberative. And then he took a stab at just kind of saying to everyone, he assigned them to each board member, but it's not set in stone. If somebody wants to switch, we're fine with that. We're just trying to get the the meeting going tonight. So he's got, I think he put Jamie on like the para contract because he worked on it so hard. And I think Dawn did the default budget as the chair. I can't remember, but he put, or maybe it was you were on the default budget because you're on budget committee. I can't remember, but he's got it all laid out and ready for you. And then if you want to adjust the verbiage, he's happy to consult with you to adjust the verbiage so it feels organic
Okay.
to you.
Okay.
So he's got a pretty good plan set up for that.
Okay, in terms of community education.
Yeah.
Warrant articles or anything that the board needs to do. This will be our last meeting before,
So
well, not
we-
before the deliberative event, before the election, really.
Sure. So I was thinking that I would push out the statements once they're crafted via our different platforms. So I can push them out through Facebook. We can do a constant contact and Alma with the warrant article in the blurb describing it
Mhm.
and the person who's going to read it. Right. And then if people have questions, we'll direct them to Matt because you all don't need 6 million emails. But if they want to email you too, they might,
Okay.
but just know that and we can also push that out on Facebook and we can push it out. I don't know if you guys wanted to write anything for the newspaper, but typically we haven't done that because we kind of got into a mess where it would be, you guys would have to write it, then the board would have to approve it, and then it gets onto a timeline. And I think I can
Probably
just kind of,
hyperlink it to the front page of the web page and then maybe even to the school board page
yeah,
to put it on the
Yeah.
website, because I think people just tend to go to the website. And if you're looking for information, at least stick a link in there so it can jump to something.
and how about if I write a letter to the newspaper just saying how important the para contract is?
Mhm.
I can do that.
Mhm.
Like I don't have the same electioneering rules for me.
Okay.
It's a little bit different as the superintendent.
Okay.
All right, I'll do that for you.
We're over our time.
It's okay. The next agenda is small.
That clock is messing me up.
What's the next meeting?
In policy,
Policy.
not you.
I was kind of waiting to see. if
Dawn's
Dawn-
waiting.
Oh, okay.
We'll be right there, Dawn. We're almost done.
Sorry, you should have. clicked and waved. All right, so our next meeting date is kind of in flux, actually, because it would technically be on the 9th, which we would not normally do
Right.
that.
It'd probably be the first week of April, right? What's the first board meeting in April?
Hmm.
I want to keep our subcommittees rocking because we've got a lot to do.
April 6th, looks like.
Not on my birthday this year.
Yay.
All right, so we'll pencil that in anyway. I mean, the schedules usually get reshuffled as well.
Jody's
Um,
baby. If you'd like to see Jody's baby.
All right, we're adjourned.